ladies and gentlemen, cameras on. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. Glad everybody's having a good time today. Please have a good time with us. If you're not having a good time, have a good time now. You just heard Brother Leroy and the Jimmy Lakey Mass Choir with an epic introduction of yours truly, the host of this radio show, broadcast show, podcast show. All the shows we're on. We're podcast, broadcast, streamcast, and glad to have all of you here on the program. Thursday, the almost Friday day. Celebrate accordingly. You never know if you make it to Friday, so you might as well treat today like Friday, because you'd never know. Good Lord might say your number's up today. I hope that's not the case. I want you here with me tomorrow, but I would encourage highly all of you to go ahead and celebrate and live today like it's Friday, and prepare your livers and prepare your hearts for that. So live like it's Friday, because you never know if you're going to get there. But I pray we all do. I just want to throw that out there. Live like it's Friday. All right. State of the Union buzz is continuing. We'll talk about that. You got a lot of stories about just watching all day's newscast. You can't, at the time the State of the Union's happening on Tuesday, you can't absorb all the things that are happening. And so by yesterday, that kind of gets all condensed and you're kind of focused, and you realize all the craziness that was happening during that State of the Union. So we'll talk more about that in just a moment. The FBI was also under Joe Biden. I know this is a shocker to many of you. Had been weaponized. The FBI turns out had been looking at the private phone records of Kash Patel and I believe Susie Wiles, the now chief of staff, back in 2022 when they were both just simply private citizens. Now, let's just say some FBI agents have had their arses kicked to the curb and terminated after this has been discovered. There's been a great characteristic. We're going to be hearing a lot of talk of the midterm, a lot of the conversation after the State of the Union speech on Tuesday was about the midterms. And I'm one of these people ask me all the time, literally I do get asked, what do you think is going to happen in the midterms? What's your prediction? It's too early. The political landscape can change. This time, you can have a COVID, you can have a Booger Cooney virus, you can have something happens that shifts the political landscape. So a lot of the prognostication about what's going to happen in the midterms in November is based on the political landscape that we have now. And I think you would be very faulty to start making predictions, prognostications, measuring the drapes to be the new Speaker of the House or planning to be the new minority. I'm not saying that the statistics do show that the president's party in the midterms oftentimes loses seats. So that is a statistic. But the statistics are not always accurate, and I think it's too early to make those prognostications. That being said, there has been a great characterization of what we will be seeing in the midterms, and I think it's going to be, it's right there on your screen. Midterms are going to be the Patriots versus the Hatetriots. Now, this came out of the White House yesterday, and I think this is a great characterization of where we're at in America. It's not Republican and Democrat as much, or red or blue as much, is it's Patriots or Hatriots. You can see how the American crazed left reacted or failed to react on behalf of the American hockey teams that won gold medals. Those people that have written op-ed pieces in the Huffington Post and other places saying how they're getting queasy with all the red, white, and blue waving American flags. It's the 250th birthday of America. And I really do believe that is something that as it sinks in as we get there and start celebrating the goodness of this great country that God allows us to be a part of, then you will see a wave of patriotism that will further expose the Hatriots versus the Patriots. And again, that could control the political landscape in November. So don't get all troubled about what's happening in November or what the polls show or what they don't show or the prognostication that the Republicans will lose the majority and it'll be another round of craziness of the Democrats impeaching Trump. That could be possible, but it's too early to start predicting that. And it's not, there's going to be a lot of change in the political landscape, mark my word, but the Patriots versus the Hatriots, that is a phraseology that I think is brilliant. And it really does describe a lot of what we're watching in the world around us. They're Patriots versus Hatriots. We love America. They hate Trump. And that's all. I'm not saying they don't love America. Their hatred for Trump, their hatred for the Orange Man, their prognostication, their programming, and the indoctrination that happened in their mental cells and has caused this derangement syndrome to happen outweighs their love for America. And that's what you're watching right here. And that's what you're watching in the day that we live in. It's the Patriots Patriots versus the Hatetriots. Mark those words, and we'll come back and talk more about those. I'm going to talk about trans identity coming up here on the program, and I do have a question of the day. I like to get you involved in the program, although not too involved, Delilah, because sometimes you and others could be annoying if you get too involved in the program. So not too involved, just a little bit involved. Yeah. That's like was it the show The Office. Are you superstitious? No, I'm just a little bit stitious. Yeah. I don't want you too involved. I just want you slightly involved. So I've got a question of the day coming up, and I think you're going to enjoy it. It doesn't really have to do with politics. It's just something to throw out there for conversation. Talk about the filibuster also. Got to get to that topic today. Kenneth Bromowitz going to be on the show. Florida, I thought Florida maybe has you go to a state like Florida, you're going to have red team, blue team, you have Republicans and Democrats. You would think in some of those red states that maybe the Democrats are more modest or less crazed. Nope, got a story from Florida. They are bat crap crazy, or what do we call it, bat iguana, or bat guano. There's some word for crap that's not as bad as crap. But I say crap because I don't say the other word, the S word. I don't say that. Delicate ears out there, and my ears are delicate as well. It's tough hanging out with producer Chad sometimes. Woo, having fun already. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about the filibuster and the crazy Democrats in Florida as well. Also going to talk about Fani. Fani Willis, she's been under fire. We'll talk about that as well. So anyway, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Delilah's good. Aiden here, the hipster youth. Looks like Aiden trimmed up the beard a little bit, which is good. Those kids look homeless. Aiden did tell me he took a flight this weekend, and he said, because of my severe influence on his life, because of my severe mentorship in his life, he decided to dress appropriately on an airplane. Thank you, Brother Aiden. I appreciate that. I call you that. Thank you. You grew up and you didn't wear those pajama things. Don't do that. On the airplane, if you're older than 3 years old, you got to put on your clothes. You got to put real clothes on and not the pajama things on the airplane. All right, let's dive into the question of the day. Some of you are commenting. Don't forget, you can comment anywhere across America that you're at. If you're on the Facebook, comment on the Facebook pages. We're on Red Wave America, the Media Equalizer. Jimmy Lakey, that's my fan page. So you're on the fan page. Wherever you're watching, you just comment and those show up here. Good morning to the YouTubers. How are you, YouTubers? For a while we were having the YouTubers YouTube was hijacked by some kids in their mama's basement. It's I think we've got rid of those. They have been purged out of there. We welcome them, but they've been gone. So it looks like Patriots are now in the YouTube chat room mostly. I just saw Stacy had commented on my glasses. Thank you. I have decided that maybe I'm going to order more colors just to tick off people, just to wear, I don't know. Producer Chad, I am thinking of getting more colors in my glasses. I'm thinking I could. Yeah, you're right. The glasses look blue because they are blue. See, I'm glad you guys are getting your colors right. For a year on this show, you guys argued what my colors my shirts were. And I had to look down and see what color my shirt is. It looks green on the screen. It's not really green. Anyway, it could be mine. All right, good to have all of you here. Highway Living on the YouTube says Hatetriots. That is apropos. That is it's a good description. That's what you're going to watch in the midterm elections is the Hatetriots versus the Patriots. It does. I see that green shirt today, buddy. No, it looks green on the screen. I'm looking at it here. It's not. My hat also has a great green tint on the screen. It could be the camera. This is not the most high-tech show in the world. This is not the most high-tech show. It's not like we have the highest quality camera there. I saw that, Kevin. Kevin just said Elton John has tons of glasses. Yesterday, isn't Kevin the one who compared my glass wardrobe change to Liberace? And now he goes for the Elton John thing. Wow, Kevin. And then Jeff says no boa. Yeah, it was Jeff or somebody said yesterday, if I'm going to change the glasses colors, I need to have a boa like Jesse Ventura used to wear. I'm not sure about that, but I appreciate that you guys think of me in such an iconic way that I could be bare-chested with a boa and look very, very, very sexy. I could. Yeah, there's Laura Carno jumping in for the Peanut Gallery. She stays in the Peanut Gallery except for Tuesday, and then she mouths off. I see. She goes, what does Kevin know that we don't? Meaning that Kevin has said Liberace and Elton John. Listen, just because I put on blue glasses, and they are blue, it's very good that they're blue. My hat also looks green. Producer Chad, I think we have a camera problem here. And that camera adds about 20 pounds to me as well. Yeah, I'm really about 180 pounds and 180 pounds and felt as you could get. I mean, I literally, if that camera wasn't adding this weight to me, you would be stumbling in your walk with the Lord. A lot of you would be, especially me in the boa, the glasses. Yep, you'd be heading off to, you'd have to give me up for Lent. I don't know what that means. You have to give me up for Lent. All right, name something that sounds impressive that until you've actually done it, it's not, once you do it, you're like, yeah, that wasn't as impressive. I use this comparison. We'll get to the news again in the day. This is a fun question of the day for all of you. Delilah's laughing over that. I said, you're going to have to give me up for Lent. Yeah, I know. That's why the camera adds 10 pounds. I don't want you to have to give me up for Lent. God knows we don't want that to happen. All right. All right. Yesterday, somebody had texted me during the State of the Union and had made comment, well, Lakey, don't you wish you were in Congress? If you don't know, I ran for Congress in 2010. I did not proceed very far into the congressional range. Well, I did. I was in the Republican primary running from the CD7 in Colorado. I dropped out before I could kick everybody's ass. Just the fundraising wasn't there, and it just wasn't time, and I was done. And I conveyed some of the experiences of it. It's a brutal world. Politics is a contact sport, and I remember having a cigar and a steak with my friend Tom Tancredo, the Del Frisco Steakhouse in Colorado, when you can still smoke and eat steak in their smoking room, where a lot of power brokers hung out there. And I was there as well. But we sat there. It was true. It was a great place. And he said, what the hell are you thinking? You don't want to run for Congress. And I said, I do, and I want your endorsement. And he gave me his endorsement, which made a headline in the political world. But anyway, I dropped out. And all that said is, people now look at it and they say, well, you ran for Congress. That's a big deal. And I chalk that up to something that sounds impressive until you have actually done it. And then after you've done it, it looks good on a bio, looks good on a resume, looks good when I'm going to speak somewhere and somebody's going to read an intro. Jimmy Lakey, former congressional candidate. That sounds really sexy. It's one of those things in life, something that sounds impressive until you actually do it, and then you're like, okay, yeah, maybe it wasn't as, it sounds more impressive than it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a question for you. What is something, and I've got some examples, other examples, something that it sounds impressive until you actually do it? There's some surveys and conversations that people have been having on this very topic about things that sound impressive until you actually do them. Some people said running a marathon is one of those things that sounds impressive until you actually do it, and then it's just not as impressive as you think it is. Running a marathon, before you do it, feels like a monumental, almost mythical achievement, some people write, and then you realize it's just a very long, painful, boring experience. It leaves you with blisters and desperate for some Gatorade and a banana. A lot like this show does. It leaves you desperate for that, and I get it. So running a marathon is something that sounds impressive until you actually do it. Now, many of you, if you grew up, you wanted to be, I want to become the manager, I want to become the boss. It sounds like a promotion, right? It sounds impressive until you actually do it. Sounds like a promotion, but really you just spend most of your time solving other people's problems, dealing with issues that they should be grown-ass adults and figure out how to do themselves. But so becoming a manager sounds very impressive until you actually do it. Now, this is one that I can relate to as well, because I thought about going on, and I got the undergrad work, and I got I was heading off to law school, and then I was all of my dreams in life. And I said, one day I'm going to be like Dr. Lakey, not like medical doctor, because that's gross. But I was going to be doctor, like philosophical thinker Lakey, right? And again, the PhD. Well, people say on the list something that sounds impressive until you have actually done it is getting a PhD. And a lot of the guys I know that have PhDs are people that I knew that when they get a PhD, if they're not like actively using their PhD, you pretty much just need to call them Dr. Uber driver, Dr. Lyft driver. No shame in doing that, but yeah, that's the thing. All right, now here's some of the answers of the day I want to get here. Some of you are giving answers as well. Bob Ritchie says, sounds like impressive until you do it is retirement. I don't know, I'm not there yet. Jim says, buying a small business. There's truth to that, Jim. Owning being an entrepreneur like I am sounds impressive until you actually do it and you lose your shirt a few times. Been there, done that. Arloa says owning a business. I know Arloa used to own the ice cream shop down in Colorado Springs, I believe, or somewhere that way. Now, Craig has committed blasphemy, something that sounds impressive until you actually do it. Craig on the YouTube channel, there's a reason he's on YouTube probably. He says eating Whataburger. Ow, Craig, you don't have to go below the belt here. You don't have to get nasty on the program. You could be Christ-like and kind. Eating blasphemes the Whataburger. Oh, dear Lord, help Craig today in his life, or judge him. Kevin says, Kevin's out of the DIA. He says, becoming an airline leader sounds impressive. Yeah, run the airport. Yeah, sounds impressive until you actually do it. Jim says, being an aide de camp. Yeah, that sounds impressive, but I didn't even know that's how you spelled it. I don't know how to say it, but that's it. All right, so something that sounds impressive until you actually do it. I want that to be the question of the day. On the list, we're also public speaking. We make it such a big deal, but after it's done, we're like, oh, that's it? No, public speaking, it is impressive because some of you can't do it. I'm just going to be honest. Some of you should not. Some of you should join the Toastmasters. I've got Aiden speaking to you specifically. Here's something that sounds impressive. Number 7 on the list. Ladies, I'm not saying this, men. It's not. I'm the list. I'm just reading the list. Marriage sounds impressive until you actually do it. Now, don't be judgmental. I'm not talking you've been 40, 50 years. God bless you. I'm talking about you get married, you go on your honeymoon, you have this blissful image of what it's going to be like living up and shacking up and just being with someone all the time, and you realize, dear God, I liked it when I could drop her off at the front door of her house or her apartment and go to my house. I liked it. I mean, there is that moment of marriage that in young, especially the early part of marriage, I think that you realize it sounded impressive. Who talked me into this? Don't look at me like that. You know it's true. Now, I think for sometimes it probably fades a little bit. No, don't judge me right now. Do not judge me right now. Some of you are judging me. No, you have that moment in marriage. You have this image. Ladies, I'm guessing you do this. You have this fairy tale image of marriage. All your life, you play Barbie dolls or whatever. I'm not being stereotypical. I'm saying you imagine your wedding dress. You fantasize about it. You talk about it and what it's going to be like. And you see it, and then you get married, and then the wedding's over, and you go back, and you've got this dude that's gross, and he leaves the toilet seat up, and yeah, sounds impressive until you actually do it. So don't judge me there. I'm going to get off this marriage topic unless I get in trouble. Stacy says, running an adoption dog ranch sounds cute until you deal with the non-potty trained furballs. I did it for 6 years. Yeah, that sounds very nice. Running an adoption ranch until it sounds cute. Ooh, God bless you. That's work. Cody says, amen, brother. He's talking about the marriage, I'm guessing. Yeah, you just think it sounds impressive until you do it. You're there. Listen, the honeymoon does end, and yeah. Highway Living on YouTube says dangerous waters there, Jimmy. I know. I'm trying not to get in trouble. I'm just saying it's number 7 on the list, and I'm just trying to help you get into the heads of the people on the list as to why this might be a big deal. Why marriages? Let's keep going on the list. Before all the guys are like, Lakey, shut up, shut the hell up. Notice it's all the guys. The ladies are like, they're all huffy back there. They're looking at marriage. I mean, it's people that hadn't thought the F word in a long time are thinking the F word. And the ladies are right now. The guys are like, you ain't lying. It sounded good when I thought. It sounded good. How much is half? Said some guys, not me. I never said that. Number 9. Oh, number 8 is great. Solving a Rubik's Cube. Sounds impressive until you do it. I saw this thing on YouTube. I could have watched it. If you right, left, up, there's like a formula. It's easy to do. I haven't tried it. I just saw it on YouTube. And if you see it on the internet, Abraham Lincoln said it's always true. So I'm going to believe that. Number 9 on this, buying your first house. Seems grown up. You sign your closing, and then you got repairs, the taxes, the bills, the lawn, all that stuff. Yeah, it's not very much. Number 10, a real geek put this one out. I'm not even sure what it means. Excel pivot tables. They sound impressive until you actually do it. Juggling it sounds impressive until you're able to do it. Yeah. Yep, I don't need to do that, but thank you. Somebody on the list, no joke, number 13 said, it sounds impressive until you actually do it. Learn how to do backflips. I got a backflip story. I'm not going to tell it today. Surfing, at least poorly, sounds impressive until you do it. And I don't know where this came from. Tearing a phone book in half. Sounds impressive and like you were drunk until you actually do it. Then it's not all that impressive. Should we go back and talk about marriage again? Or we should leave that one alone? All right, let's dive into the news of the day. Now, Jeff Wright, Laura jumps in and says, yeah, baby, pivot tables. Is that what I got to look that up, pivot tables. I use Excel spreadsheets all the time, but I'm like Excel spreadsheet 101, 201. Like, I sometimes can get into 301, but you get into, I'm probably not even 301. I'm more 101 and 201 on the Excel. I ran the entire concert organization off of, I had a worker one time gave me a fancy spreadsheet. I said, what the hell did you do? He said, I redid the spreadsheet. And I said, I don't know how this works. And I made him go back to my simple, very basic spreadsheet. Yeah. I was the boss. It's called Lakey Entertainment. I get to make the rules around here. And now Jeff says something that sounds impressive until you actually do it. Amsterdam's red light district. I have no comment on that. I've never been to Amsterdam. Let's just say that. I did one day, because there's a route through Amsterdam that I can fly to Rwanda, and I one day said, I'm going to stop in Amsterdam, but I just know, as a single man, everybody's like, I know why he's stopping in Amsterdam, and I'm not. That's not why I'm stopping. I've just never been there, the architecture. But when you tell people you're going to Amsterdam for the architecture, it's kind of like you heard as a kid, but somebody's dad would say, only look at Playboy for the articles. Remember that one? Yeah, so I have not been able to fly through Amsterdam yet because I'm afraid of what some of you might speculate. All right, let's get into we got a great guest coming up. Kenneth Abramowitz going to join us here in just a moment. There's your question of the day, things that sound impressive until you actually do them, and then you're like, not so much anymore. Let me ask you this. We're, 36 hours past the State of the Union. And from what I saw yesterday on the coverage is that people talk about the length of the State of the Union. A little bit, they talk about all the awards and all the accolades and all the people that were at the State of the Union. This is just observation from my point of view. It's a POV. This is my POV. Is that was the talk, and then all the talk that I heard from Democrats, and this is just me, you give me your POV as well, was simply the leadership of the Democrat Party was doing, at least in the news clips I had to hear, they were having to defend, why did you sit? What was happening on the floor? Nancy Pelosi had to ask about Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. What were they screaming? She goes, you could barely hear them on the floor. And I'm guessing after the State of the Union, 36 hours, 24 hours later, it was very interesting to see what the discussion points were out there. And the Dems seem to have been. Now, this won't last. This is not something that's going to carry you to November, but it is interesting to see that, at least in my POV, my point of view camera, that the Democrats found themselves on defensive, not because they had some great policies that they were going to present and had to defend those. It was because they had no policy, and they came across not as policy people, but they came across as petulant punks. And I just found that to be an interesting observation. And here's where I kind of play this out. Okay, if you're a Democrat and you're hoping to keep the momentum that you think you have heading into November, then isn't there somebody in charge of the Democratic Party that huddles up before and says, guys, just don't be dumb. Let's not be seen as the petulant punks. Let's see the people of policy. The Democrats did not, at least in my POV, there were very few questions, if any, or very few messages, if any, from major Democrats, the leaders of the party, that talked about the policies that they would counter with Donald Trump. They talked about how it was a game show and it was an award show and it was Donald Trump's dog and pony show. All they could do is, again, get obsessed with the orange man. And I'm telling you, Democrats, I'm trying to help you out. Not that I want you to win, but it just seems as if, this is why I say the political landscape, if you're going to continue to be what the White House has now dubbed the Hatetriots versus the Patriots, then I think that's going to change your political landscape in November. And I was just shocked that the Democrats really came out with no unified message, no unified policy, nothing that they stand for. They're on the defensive, not the offensive, after the State of the Union. Now, again, President Trump has proposed some policy. He has talked about the SAVE Act, and the Democrats, all they can do about that is say racist, bigot, homophobe, and call you names and how bigot you are. You want somebody to have a voter ID. I just watch this observation, and I want you to see how long it takes before Democrats start giving you a policy. I know they hate Donald Trump. I know they don't want voter ID. I know that they hate ICE. I know all that. But do you know what they're proposing? Is there anything offensive that's just not based out of pure patriotism? I'm just saying I'd like to watch this, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see. But the Democrats definitely on defensive, especially yesterday as the images began to circulate around that these counter-programming events they had. Joy Reid up there trying to sing out somewhere in the shadows of the Capitol. I heard there were like 15 people there. There's nobody there. You had the dancing frog escapade where some senators were at an indoor event, and I don't know what it is about furries and animals dressing up as animals, but Democrats thought that was cute. I mean, they really looked insane in what you would call their counter-protesting. And it was really bizarre, and there were a lot of questions that should be asked about that. That if you're not smart enough to avoid those kind of counter protests, stay home and eat popcorn, go out to your favorite restaurant, or sit there and have some dignity and applaud when you need to and stand up. Now, I did hear this interview with J.D. Vance. And this is how lacking of a moral compass the Democrats are. He said from his perspective at times he could see Democrats looking at others like, are we standing on this one? It's groupthink. And the problem is the only one thinking at the head of that monster is Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. And the rest of them are like, should we tell her to shut the F up? Should we tell her to be quiet? Should we tell her to go back to Somalia? I mean, they're sitting there. There's no leadership there. And I think that's going to be very interesting to watch it moving forward. But your observation, your point of view, we talked about it immediately after the State of the Union, but you had all day yesterday conversations. You had all day yesterday to discuss it, and last night watched the news. I just find it interesting how a lot of the news, a lot of the conversation was Democrats having to be on defensive. Even Donald Trump, I don't think he did interviews yesterday. I think he was very quiet. I didn't see much from Trump himself. He might have taken a day off. I don't know, but it's interesting that he could step out and not necessarily didn't have to go out and push the agenda. It seemed like Democrats they were pretzelizing, getting a pretzel form. Well, it was okay, but we didn't. They're just winding themselves up into very strange shapes. All right, we'll talk more about that here in a moment. I do want to talk about Iran. President Trump said clearly the other night that he will not ever let Iran become nuclearized when it comes to weapons. And I want to bring into the program from Save the West, it's Mr. Kenneth Abramowitz in the green room. Coming onto the stage, Mr. Abramowitz, good morning. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, great to be with you as always.
Let's talk, first of all, State of the Union. I got to get your take on that. President Trump made some comments about Iran, but overall, you're a commentator. You're a guy that wants to save the West and our values and all that the Western civilization stands for. How'd you think he did?
Sometimes I pretend I'm a professor. So he gets an A. He gets an A, not an A plus. I'll explain why. But he certainly gets an A. It was solid, full of information, full of policy. It was touching, full of human interaction with roughly 5 or so great heroes that I wasn't acquainted with. And it was enjoyable. It was a good show, all around good show, solid A. If you want, I'll explain how he could have gotten an A plus.
Yeah, tell me that.
Okay, so all the Democrat criticisms are invalid. The criticisms are not from the left, so to speak. Everything he said was solid. The criticism would be, I guess you could say, from the right. In other words, he could have been, let me just give you 5 examples of omissions that I was looking for. Number 1, anti-Semitism and anti-Christian behavior is rampant throughout our society, throughout the world. He could have said something about it. Christians are getting killed in Nigeria. I know no one in Nigeria votes in our elections, but there's 100 million Christians that are getting attacked by the Muslims in the north, moving down to the south. Within our universities, rampant anti-Semitism and anti-Christian behavior. So that's number 1. Number two, I don't believe he mentioned the word Israel. Israel's America's number one ally, and I would argue Israel's America's only ally, only real ally. The others are pretend allies. And he said that he was very proud that all the hostages were released. The hostages were Israeli hostages. Now, it was obvious that they were Israeli hostages, but he could have mentioned the word Israel. Number three, he could have mentioned the internal threat from the Muslim Brotherhood in the U.S. in terms of building mosques and spewing hate and Sharia and opposing the Constitution and Bill of Rights. And I just have two more. Number four, he could have said exactly what we want from Iran. It's not just nuclear weapons. It's not just enrichment. We want them to close down their missile program. He implied that. But we also want them to close down their 600,000 worldwide terror organization, 15 times larger than ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Close it down. And finally, Qatar and Turkey are what I call frenemies. In other words, friends in the morning, enemies in the afternoon. He could have said something that we want them to be 100% friends, not 50% friends. So those were my 5 comments that would have gotten him an A++. But I'll take an A. I mean, having listened to 4 State of the Unions that were an F-, to go from F- to A, I'm pretty happy.
The voice, if you listen later in the day, where thousands of earballs will eventually hear or see this show throughout the day. It's Kenneth Abramo at SaveTheWest.com. We'll tell you about the website here in a second, SaveTheWest.com. And also his latest book you'll want to pick up a copy of. It's called The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. Kenneth Abramo is one of our great guests on the program. Kenneth, let me ask you this question here. I want to talk about this potential for war and military action in Iran. You mentioned what we want from there. We knocked out their nuclear capability last year, and all of a sudden now I hear we're back at the negotiating table. I don't think most Americans understand what we're negotiating. What are they asking? What is our stance? You know, we told you you're not having nuclear things. Now we're at a negotiating table again. And the last few times we've ended up at a negotiating table under different administrations, the Iranians end up with billions of dollars of cash. What is on the table? What's being talked about?
Well, first, I'm not a big fan of negotiating with terror organizations. I call Iran an Islamo-Nazi criminal organization, and I don't think we should be negotiating, number one. Number two, if you are negotiating with basically Hitler on steroids, you basically walk in and say, here's the 5 things that I want, and I want them now, and the deadline is Monday. And if you don't do it, you'll be visited by our U.S. Air Force and our Navy on Tuesday. Have a nice day.
Yep.
To me, that's the way you negotiate. Now, Iran is master negotiators in the sense that let's just say there's 10 things you want, 5 things you want. They show flexibility on one of them. And you say, oh, there's hope here. We don't have to use the Air Force. We can work something out. And then they say, but we have to talk with our leaders in Iran, so we'll get back to you next week. Okay, so you play this. What they want to do, Iran wants to do, is to delay any American military response till the summer, till it gets closer to the November midterm elections. Because democracies being democracies, you don't want to fight a war 3 months, 4 months, 5 months before an election. From the Trump point of view, just putting words in their mouth, if you're going to fight a war, you don't want to fight a war, but if you're going to fight a war, do it in March. Get it over with. And maybe it'll go into April. But get it over with way in advance of the midterm, so it's not an issue at the midterm. So that's why Iran's just delay, and we can't play this game. Iran's an existential risk to America and the world, and it's time for them to be eliminated.
The voice again, Kenneth Abramowitz, SaveTheWest.com. We'll talk about his book here in just a moment as well. There was word earlier this week, and it got squelched pretty quickly, that maybe the Joint Chiefs of Staff were disagreeing with President Trump and did not want to strike Iran. Now there's a story out the last 24 hours, Politico, that the White House advisors say if we're going to strike Iran, we need Israel to go first and pave the way, kind of like happened last year. What do you think is really happening? Is there a division with the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Do you think Israel's going to jump in here first and do the opening salvo? Your thoughts, sir?
that was my thought also. And the reason I had that thought is that if Israel attacks, just look at it from the political point of view. If Israel attacks Iran, Netanyahu's popularity goes up. If America attacks Iran, President Trump's popularity goes down, because Americans are delusional. You know, we don't want to talk about wars. The wars are over there. We don't know where they are. We don't want to think about it. In Israel, it's there. They can't escape. So that's number one. Number two, Israel did this before. In the 12-day war, Israel did 11 days of bombing, aided by American weapons. Israel gets 2/3 of its weapons from America. And then America showed up in the ninth inning, so to speak, on the 12th day and did its wonderful thing. Could be a repeat this time. Israel has experience. The pilots have experience. They know how to get into Iran. They know how to get out of Iran. They know how to identify targets, blow up targets. And Israel's just good at it because they just did it a few months ago. So it's very logical for the administration to say, look, you guys know how to do it. You did it. And we know how to do it too. But we didn't do it 6 months ago, except for that one day. So please lead the way, and we'll be there before too long. Another third point is it could be that Israel takes the lead on the land and America takes the lead in the water. The Iranian Navy has to be blown up. They can't block traffic anymore or threaten traffic. In America, with 2 aircraft carriers and all of our abilities, if I were planning this, and no one asked me, by the way, but if they asked me to plan it, I'd have the Americans blow up the Navy and then Israel blow up everything in the land. And then when it's safe, so to speak, and there's no more challenges from radar and missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, then America shows up with a much reduced profile, because we don't want one of our planes going down. No, Israel doesn't want one of its planes going down, but Israelis understand if something bad happens. Americans, they don't want to hear about it, anything bad.
Let's talk about that, because the Americans, we kind of got worn out. 20 years in Afghanistan, that war was not necessarily fought, strategized right. We didn't fight to win. A lot of stories that left a bad taste in America's mouth. There's long, prolonged wars, foreign entanglements. We're tired of it, and understandably so. I'm asking though, what do we need to? Usually, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. We've now gone to this extreme of non-interventionism, and people are going, yeah, I like that. But there has to be the walk softly, carry a big stick. In your estimation, what does America need to do to kind of correct its vantage point, in your opinion, on their readiness to intervene or to take military action in places like Iran? Do we need to, you said we're kind of delusional here. What do we need to do to shake that delusion off?
Well, we're fighting 3 bad guys, Russia, China, and Iran simultaneously. You could say we're in a 3-front war. We don't call it a 3-front war, but I call it a 3-front war. So we're fighting Russia through Ukraine, not with our weapons, which they're paying for, or Europe's paying for, but we're fighting basically Russia and Ukraine. We're fighting Iran through Israel, and we're fighting China through Taiwan. All 3 of those allies, Ukraine, Israel, and Japan, and Taiwan, have to be strong, have to have strong militaries, and basically be tough in tough neighborhoods. So, but Russia has something like 5,000 nuclear weapons, or 5,000 or 6,000. China has, I think, 1,500, and Iran has 0. So if you're going to set an example and beat up one of the bad. You don't want to beat up all the three bad. We don't want to have a direct war with China or Russia. But if you want to beat up somebody in the axis of evil, it's pretty obvious Iran's the one to beat up. And the timing is now. And otherwise, they'll kill everyone. This Islamo-Nazi regime, they'll kill all the people in Iran. There's about 93 million people in Iran, and let's pretend 13 million are connected with the regime. 80 million hate the government. They'll kill all 80 million people. We'll have the largest genocide in the history of genocides. And I don't think President Trump wants to preside over that.
Yeah. Last question for you. The mullahs, the ayatollahs, if, let's say, the U.S. takes out the Navy, Israel does work. If all this comes together, how volatile do you think this ayatollah regime is, this Islamic Nazi terrorist regime? Do they flee to Russia? Do you think it's volatile? Will the people head back to the streets? Give me your thoughts.
Well, when you get, there's an expression. I think Mike Tyson had an expression. Everybody has a plan when they are boxing, or you could say for war also, until the first punch or the first bullet. And then your wonderful plan, anything can happen. And so from a President Trump's point of view, I'm sure he's saying the military, I know anything can happen, but I don't want anything to happen. I want you to tell me good things are going to happen, and you're going to get the right targets fast. And I want this war over by April 1st. If you have to go into April, fine. But that's it. You got 1 or 2 months. Tell me, what are you going to do? So I think it's possible to do it in 1 or 2 months. Basically, blow up the leadership, destroy the Revolutionary Guards leadership of the government, the leadership of the Revolutionary Guards, leadership of the besieged paramilitary, the Navy, the Air Force, the missiles, the drones. There's a lot of things to blow up. But Israel knows how to do it. America knows how to do it. Israel's more experienced. I think there's an interesting joint venture coming up between the countries where we use the best capabilities of Israel, the best capabilities of America, put it together in a war plan, and let's get this thing over with.
The voice of Kenneth Abramowitz. He's written a book. The most recent book is called The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. He's also founder of SaveTheWest.com, a website dedicated to saving Western civilization from itself. Mr. Abramowitz, talk about the book, The Multi-Front War, and what folks will find on your website.
Yes, the website and book are interrelated. On my website, I write an article every 2 weeks. It's available. It's complimentary. Take advantage of it. Just go to SaveTheWest.com and sign up. And I take pieces of the book that I wrote 5 years ago and updated 4 times, most recently about 8 months ago. And I basically expand upon ideas, issues, challenges mentioned in the book. So the book and the website are interrelated, and people should take advantage of them.
The name of the book is, again, you get the whole title in here, The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Social Strife. You can find it Amazon, anywhere great books are sold. Also, just go to the website, SaveTheWest.com. Subscribe to that newsletter. It's free, and a lot of good information there, SaveTheWest.com. Kenneth Abramowitz, I always enjoy the conversation. Thanks for hopping on.
Great to be with you anytime.
Thank you, my friend. Kenneth Abramowitz, SaveTheWest.com, SaveTheWest.com. Check that out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleasured and pleased to have you here. And we come back to that opening conversation in the State of the Union, 36 hours, 48 hours, going on 48 hours post-mortem. I was interesting in my POV, my point of view yesterday, that the Democrats found themselves almost an unforced error. That if the Democrats would have played like grown-ups and not like petulant punks, then I think yesterday maybe the Democrats could have been on message of counter-programming and or counter proposals. But you don't know. After 36 hours now, going on 48 hours after the State of the Union, I saw the Democrats on their heels explaining, well, I stood up for the right things. I said they were having to explain their calisthenics are up and down, And no one, and maybe by design, no one asked them about what their policies were. What do you think is, why do you disagree with 80% of Americans who think voter ID is good? It was an interesting point of view from my vantage point that there was not a lot of counter proposal programming. It was all defensive programming that the Democrats were on. If you're a Democrat, I'd love an honest take on it. Do you think that your party, your friends, your leaders, did you think they shot themselves in the foot by making their shenanigans something that was the front of the story, and it became the front page story? You know, how many images did you see on the news last night of Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib shouting at President Trump, and they superimposed it in real time, and then they had big Botox Nancy Pelosi out there, and her lying sack of Jawea flowing from her mouth, and she's out there saying, well, it's barely even noticeable on the floor. And you know that's bull. And then it starts to make you wonder, who were these wimpy cowards sitting around Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, these little pansy Democrats? That one lady dressed in white, she glared back at once like a kid was kicking her pew in church, is what I called it yesterday. But where were the Democrats? I think that's another question that will start to reign in that type of radical behavior that these radical women have in the Democrat Party. And I'm telling you, it was interesting to see the Democrats had no really offensive message going on yesterday. And I don't think they're going to get any offensive footing today because they have been so obsessed with I hate Trump. It's all on defense. Why do you hate Trump? I hate there's nothing progressive, and I don't mean that from a political standpoint, but there's nothing moving forward. It's all we hate Donald Trump, and they're just driven by rage. All you had to do is watch that State of the Union. Go back and watch it. If you recorded it on your DVR in the cloud, wherever it's at, go back and watch it. I scanned through a little bit of it last night because I wanted to hear something specific I was looking for. And as they did pan shots, they didn't get a lot of crowd shots. Did those liberal women sitting there in the Democrat section look like some of those angry, nastiest women ever? They look like the women with road rage driving Subaru Outbacks in Colorado. It's a very scary lot of Democrat women. And what you have to ask yourself is, are the Democrat men all too cowardly to tell them to shut the hell up? All right, somebody's got to tell. Nancy Pelosi's obviously, she can't tell the young bucks to shut the hell up. Somebody's got to tell them to shut the hell up. There's got to be a grown-up in that party somewhere, right? Yeah, I'm not seeing that. Somebody pops in the YouTube. I don't understand why nobody's talking about the fact that if they go to see any senator or congressman, I have to show my ID many times. Yeah, this voter ID thing is crazy. To say that people of color can't get, it's racist. Everybody's got an ID. You've got an ID. You can go get an ID. It's BS. And President Trump, I think, called it out properly. The only reason you would oppose this is because you want to cheat. And if you're out there and want to oppose voter ID, tell me why. There's no reason to oppose it. Everybody's got an ID. A matter of fact, every one of those jackass Congress people that flew into D.C. to watch the speech, guess what? Unless they flew private, and most of them don't, even a showboating, they don't. All you got to do is catch from your major airport on certain days of the week. I guarantee if I catch the United Airlines flight from Washington, D.C. to Denver, I'm telling you, I've been on that flight with former Senator Cory Gardner. I've been on that flight with Bennett Hickenlooper from Colorado. I've been on that flight. There's photos of me. I was Nancy Pelosi sat right in front of me. She was coming to Denver. So everybody's got an ID, and you have to show your ID. It's not your congressional pin. And President Trump was right to call all that out. Ray on the YouTube says the only grown-up was Fetterman. Yeah, Fetterman's turned out to be pretty much of a grown-up. He's a leftist, but he's a grown-up, and that's all you could ask. And the Democrats, they don't like him. You know, they hate Fetterman because of that. They don't like grown-ups. They don't like intellect. They don't like thoughtfulness. The Democrat Party is crazy. By the way, you think in Florida, I mentioned the story earlier, you think in Florida they would kind of get a little bit better? I had this story caught my attention that, and again, this is what is bizarre to me. This is the type of headline that Democrats keep making headline for. It's so filled with hate, so filled with vitriol that you say, Democrats, what do you stand for? We know you hate so many things. We know you hate America by your actions. We know you hate religion, Christianity specifically. We know all these things that we say, and they don't do anything to counter-program that. And let me give you an example. This is a story that Florida Democrats have decided that the way they're going to get together in the state legislature of Florida is to oppose a bill that would simply honor the late Turning Point USA founder and conservative icon Charlie Kirk. That's it. There's a bill in Florida that basically says we want to honor, and I don't know if they're going to name a day, Charlie Kirk Day. Oh, the bill, House Bill 125, designates October the 14th as Charlie Kirk Day of Remembrance. That's it. You would think that Democrats would just shut their stupid pie holes and stop taking pages out of the Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, just shut the F up. That's what you think that's what they would do. The bill, Bill 25, if you're in Florida, maybe you haven't heard of it, I'm telling you now, let us know in all the rooms. It would just simply declare October the 14th as a day of Charlie Kirk remembrance. It's sponsored by Representative Yvette Benaroque in the state legislature. She is a Republican from Marco Island area of Florida. Benaroque describes the bill as a tribute to a man who encouraged a generation to read the Constitution and love this great country. The measure cleared the chamber by a vote of 82 to 31. They have quite a big legislature there in Florida, 82 to 31. But during the committee deliberations, rather than just shut up and vote no if you want to vote no, the Democrats took issue with the language and said, you know what the reason was, Delina, why they would not vote for this bill? They said, well, first of all, they hate Jesus and they hate Charlie Kirk. They hate all that Charlie Kirk stands for, my opinion. No, the reason they said we can't do this is because you're saying Charlie Kirk was assassinated. We want you to say that Charlie Kirk was a victim of gun violence. That's the mountain they decide to die on. Democrat State Representative Ashley Viola Gant, big long name there, bet she drives a Subaru. Wonder if she shaves her pits. I don't know. We want to talk about the exercise of free speech. Let's ball. Who says that? Yeah. We want to talk about the exercise of free speech. We ball. Let's ball. Yeah, that's dignified. The First Amendment protects free speech. We don't need this day of remembrance for a man who was a mediocre racist. I say mediocre at best. This is what she said. He was not a Floridian. He had no ties to Florida other than owning a property. We have a number of Floridians, both individuals and organizations, that promote free speech that is not divisive like this individual was. So free speech, if it divides you or offends you, it's not, you shouldn't celebrate it. This woman's a bimbo. And the people who ever voted for her, you're disgraceful. If we want to talk about free speech, this woman said, I guess she identifies as a woman. For all I know, she's a man. Maybe got an Adam's apple. I don't know. Maybe a man wearing a dress. Maybe she got the twig and berries. I don't know. It's a Democrat. You never know. Just because they call Ashley, that may be her trans name. I don't know. Just guessing. Let's talk about being precise with our words. This is her quote. This is the mountain. Again, Democrats, sometimes you just got to shut the crap up. Sometimes you just need to stop seeming like you're the stupidest, craziest lunatic on the block. But this Ashley Viola Gant from Florida can't do that. If we want to talk about free speech, quote, let's talk about being precise with our words. When we hear assassination, that's related to a person in a political position. Charlie Kirk died from gun violence. We continually advocate for gun policy legislation that would ensure the people who probably shouldn't have had a gun don't have a gun. So Ashley says he's mediocre, he's a fool, he's a Christian, he loves Jesus, he stands for everything that I don't stand for. But if you would call it gun violence and let him be a poster child to take people's guns away, we will then lionize him and make him a saint. That's the stupidity of today's Democrat Party. And Ashley Viola Gant in Florida is another case in point example that these Ilhan Omar stupid, Jasmine Crockett stupid, Rashida Tlaib stupid type women that are whatever their hormones or whatever their problem is, it ain't just happening in Washington, D.C. There has been a breeding ground of these angry women in the Democrat Party, and that breeding ground is in the swamps evidently of Florida. You got to read her whole statement. Was this passing tragedy for those who loved him? Absolutely no denying that. But he was not assassinated. It was a death by gun violence. There's an issue in America, and we should be addressing gun violence. It's all about gun violence. I don't want to recognize him because he's a Christian, loves Jesus. But if we can classify it as gun violence and he could be the poster child for he could be the poster child for taking away the Second Amendment, then we will lionize Charlie Kirk, because they don't care about the person, they don't care about what he stood for, they just simply care about their agenda, which is to strip you of your Second Amendment rights so that they can control you even further. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you about Sherry Cree, her website, homeswithsherry.com. Tomorrow she'll be on the program with us, and this is the time to start thinking about that house sale. We're heading into March. You might have already missed a small window of opportunity to sell a home for top dollar. Listen, I'm telling you that you must call Sherry if you want to make a real estate. Again, maybe it's in the fall. Maybe you got to get through the summer for whatever reason. Maybe you know there's a transfer. It doesn't matter. It's a strategy session, big picture, and it's part of an interview process. You're going to interview maybe 2 or 3 realtors. Make sure Sherry is on that list. Have that conversation. And just remember, just because someone had a flyer hanging up at the flea market, or somebody at the church says, hey, here's my realtor friend, doesn't mean they're the best person for you. And this is something that can create generational wealth. You got to choose somebody that's going to looking out for that, not somebody as a favor to some brother-in-law out there. And I say that with respect because I know it's a tough time if you know many realtors, but you're going to have to make some decisions, and Sherry needs to be in the part of that process. You got to have an interview with her. homeswithsherry.com. Again, she'll talk about the buying windows, the selling windows. So, if you're going to be a seller, this is kind of a great time frame for your area. If you're going to be a buyer, and sometimes it can mean extra tens of thousands of dollars staying in your pocket or coming into your pocket if you make the right time on the seasons, and just the whole strategy session. homeswithsherry.com. She loves taking care. If you're a senior out there trying to downsize, maybe you got parents in the area and you're trying to get them downsized, taken care of, and maybe you're not even in state, but you want somebody that can help you in. Listen, homeswithsherry.com. I like to say the I-25 corridor, take Denver metro area and draw like a circular, radius, and go up to Fort Collins, Greeley, Eva. She posted a photo. She was in Eaton and Windsor the other day doing some real estate work. If you're in Arvada, if you're in Aurora, if you're in Boulder, all of these places, my friends, go to Sherry, homeswithsherry.com. Check it out and give her some support, and she's going to make sure that you're well taken care of in your real estate transactions. homeswithsherry.com. All right. Question of the day. A lot of you are giving good responses out there. What is something that sounds impressive until you've actually done it? For me, the top of the list was running for Congress. Sounds very impressive, but then I actually did it. It's not as impressive. That's 2010. I've still flashbacks on that one. But again, that's your question of the day. Things that sound impressive until you've actually done them. It's Thursday, which also means Jay Ratliff, our aviation and travel expert, jumps into the program. And there he is in the green room. We bring him up on the stage now. Jay Ratliff, good morning, sir.
Pleasant good morning.
Top of the morning to you, my friend. Got a lot of wind in Colorado. I don't know what the delays are across America. Let's start with that. I've got some messages from the airport saying it's windy out here and planes are bouncing around.
You were talking about politicians and then wind. I thought that was your kind of your segue to talk about the useless people we have in D.C. sometimes. Right now, we've had issues in the morning, Atlanta, Charlotte. We've had some winds across the middle part of the country that's been slowing things down just a bit. But the real problem, children of the day, have been Atlanta and Charlotte with a lot of weather-related delays. And Jimmy, that system's moving towards the northeast. So Philadelphia, D.C., New York are going to start to see some evening delays as a result. Really, when you move west, the conditions actually improve quite a bit, other than the delays associated with some of those high winds. And given the history of this week, today's not too bad of a day to fly.
That is very good to know, because I've got some flights this weekend. Give me a real quick update. What are you hearing? I know the TSA pre-check and some things have been shut down at airports. Are you getting any word of problems in clearing security with this partial government shutdown?
Not yet. And of course, it was a lot of fun watching them announce that the TSA pre-check was going to be closed only to be open, and this ping pong back and forth as far as what the partial government shutdown. And one of the things that we know is that as of March 4th, the TSA officers, the agents, the people working in the front lines, they're not going to get a paycheck. That's going to be the first day. And of course, we have 50,000 people or so that touch and that are directly involved with screening. So obviously, we need all hands on deck there. So far, so good. It was a lot more of a problem when we had the previous shutdown when air traffic controllers were impacted, because we have a much smaller number. We are significantly understaffed. and any drop off in people showing up for work created problems, so much and so that the airlines had to reduce the number of flights that they had scheduled per a request/demand from the Federal Aviation Administration. Not seeing that here at present. So far so good, but obviously the longer it goes, the more problematic it can become.
I don't know how I got it. I pre-check, and suddenly on my ticket it says I'm touchless. And I go to Denver now. I get in the touchless line. I walk in. I stare at a camera, and they say, "Thank you, Mr. Lakey." And I don't show them anything. And I'm flying this weekend, and I'm afraid I'm not going to get my touchless progression through the airport.
I'm betting you will. So just check back with me. Let me know if that happens. There's a lot of people that know about the pre-check. And they ask and say, is it really worth $85 to do that? And when you talk about a 5-year $85 bill, to me, that's like flight insurance. If you only fly once a year, that's $17.50 a year. So that means $8.50 each way if you only fly one time every year, 5 years. And to me, it's like flight insurance. You get to an airport, you may be spoiled there with some very quick screening lanes. But Jimmy, you go to some of these other airports, the general queue can be hour or so. TSA pre-check might be 15 minutes. And I'm telling you, you're running late to the airport through no fault of your own. That TSA pre-check can save your trip.
Ignore what Jay said. I don't want any more of you in the line with a pre-check with me. You stay over the general queue.
Hey, we got about 15 million or so that have signed up so far. The last I heard from the TSA, and it's something that I love because again, it allows us to go through there much faster.
Telling people to join pre-check is like talking about how great Colorado is and all the Californians move here. It's a bad thing. So stay on the pre-check line. Okay, it's a good thing. I don't know how I got the touchless thing, but that's pretty cool. You sent me a story that is just one day appeared. It said touchless, and I said, oh, wrong line. Young man prays for finding an error in a Southwest Airlines pilot training manual. Okay, maybe there's a typo. There's something going wrong. But it's more than that, and it's not just a young man. The kid is 5 years old. Is this really the story?
What is Jeff Foxworthy? Are you smarter than a fifth grader? No, this is, are you smarter than a 5-year-old? This kid is a preschooler, and he loves aviation. He has everything aviation related, planes, models, uniforms. So some people at Southwest Airlines kind of humored him and let the kid kind of get involved and look around and see some of the different things associated with the great airline of Southwest Airlines. This kid looks at the flight operations manual, one of the training manuals that are used in training Southwest pilots. And this 5-year-old is going through this manual, kind of poring over it. And I'm sure the adults are looking in that suite, and he looks at it and says, is this wrong? He was looking at something that it's a terrain. It's something that display for the terrain, and there's 2 of them, and they should be identical. They were not. So this 5-year-old asked, why aren't these 2 the same graph? Because they should be. The pilot for Southwest Airlines looks over and says, oh, those should be the same. So they've got to revise a manual that's been used in Southwest training for I don't know how long, because a 5-year-old spotted something that was off in the terrain display system. And I want to know, Jimmy, how many pilots have gone through the program, used this manual, and not one of them, those men or women, have seen this. This is a story I just absolutely love. I don't know if it'll be my favorite of 2026, but I can tell you right now it's in the top 5.
Wow. 5 years old, and that's scary.
He's in a preschool, and he's helping Southwest to change the manual that trains pilots.
I've got no words on that one. It's just, how many years? That's a curious question. How many years has this manual been used, and no one caught it? And
I've got some close friends that are Southwest pilots. I'm going to ask them that before I tell them the story if they've not heard it yet.
Yeah. Speaking of pilots, it looks like we need some more. If you want to, if you'd like to find a great career in life, maybe becoming a pilot could be in your future. There's some prognostication that we're going to have a pilot shortage here soon.
And this number continues to grow. Of course, we've already identified one in the 5-year-old, so that's done. He's certainly going to be a pilot, probably for Southwest. they're saying between now and 2044, we're going to be worldwide short 660,000 pilots.
Whoa.
Yeah, the growth of the industry and the retirement of those that are going to be in the pipeline, they're saying that's the shortage that we're going to be looking at. Unbelievable. So yes, if you're someone that likes aviation as a career, the the prospects are just open big time. Now, a lot of times here in the United States, not all the airlines are hiring, but you see it around the world. A friend of ours told me this week that her nephew was trying to find a job here years ago in the U.S. and could not. He went to fly for Emirates in Dubai. He's now a captain of an Airbus and doing very, very well, making a great deal of money based over there. So many times, if the U.S. carriers are not hiring, you can find airlines around the world that will certainly scoop up qualified pilots. And I tell you, it's a career once you get into, it's absolutely just amazing, especially when you get the seniority where you can start calling the shots on where you're going to be flying. And, again, we need pilots, mechanics. We need everybody associated with the airline industry big time. Because look, without pilots, as long as we need 2 of them per aircraft, we're going to be hurting. Of course, you and I've talked before about how they've tried prototypes for a single pilot cockpit. They're still wanting that because airlines still want to have a fully automated aircraft that has no pilots.
No,
and,
thank you.
And I tell you, 20, 30 years with all the artificial intelligence we've got, I could see that as a distinct possibility for other people. I'm not getting on a plane that doesn't have a pilot with a vested interest in that bad boy landing safely.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll see how AI takes over. But if you want to be a pilot, it's great. Kevin jumps in. He works at DIA. Says, I'm telling the story right now, Jay, to a few of my Southwest Airline pilot friends. So,
oh, yeah. I wish we could capture their react. Well, they're probably thinking you and I are making it up. But since it's on the internet, we know it is a true story. But, yeah, in fact, it's a Colorado story. So I think that's even better.
Wow. Jay Ratliff, aviation and travel expert. You're also kind of a guy that watches the stock market as a day trader, daytradefund.com. Talk about what you're seeing in the market. Did President Trump touted the other day that it'd be 5-10 years before we hit 50,000? Boom, we already hit 50. We're toying with it again today. Overall, give me your thoughts on the market and investing right now. Look, we've got the Buzz Lightyear crowd to infinity and beyond. They think the market's going to continue to go up, and it certainly can. But when people say the next 20 years of the stock market is going to be like the last 20 years, I couldn't disagree more. I'm a strong believer in the U.S. economy, yes, but we've got financial headwinds that are facing us right now that we did not have 20 years ago. We've got that ticking time bomb of Social Security. Thanks to the politicians, nothing's been done in a number of 4, 5, or 6 years. We're going to reach that tipping point where more people are taking than or contributing than giving, and something's going to have to be done. We have, I think, 47 out of the 50 states with underfunded pensions. That's going to be an issue. And of course, the national debt, which everybody talks about during political campaigns, but nobody seems to do anything about. Those types of things are some very, very pressing issues. And to me, that's a concern. You have a lot of people right now looking at artificial intelligence and a lot of money pouring into those related stocks. And there's a concern, is this as big as we think, or is it more of a bubble? So, there's just some concerns. Just be careful. And if I've got a lot of cash on the sidelines and I'm looking to run in right now, I always say exercise some caution. I'm somebody that likes to look for deals. And when people say, Jay, I'm looking at buying these stocks, I'm thinking, well, okay, but most of those are all-time highs. Are you somebody that goes out shopping and says, ooh, I can't buy that? It's not high enough. But the minute you raise the price, I'll be right in the door to buy. No, I want things like Warren Buffett to be on sale so that you can buy them and have a predetermined entry point and you know exactly when you're going to sell them and go from there. So, look, I love what's going on with the market right now, but there's some concerns, and it just please be careful and ignore those emails about the next hot stock tip to go after, because all you're doing is playing follow the leader on what could be a pump and dump thing, and you're going to end up losing a great deal of money in the process, probably. So do your due diligence. Your audience is an incredibly intelligent group of people. I hear from them all the time. So you don't have too many people there that are mavericks that are just buying things saying, hey, let's see what happens. They do their homework, and I'm glad for that, because this is a time when you certainly need to do it.
because look, we've got too many people that feel like socialism is what we need in this country. And as those numbers continue to grow, so do obviously the concerns that you and I have.
Yeah. The website, jratliff.com. You also go to Day Trade Fund, look it up, and you'll learn about day trading. And Jay actually offers some classes on day trading, and he'll help you with that. And that's go to the website, jratliff.com, all things Jay Ratliff. Jay, God bless you, my friend. We'll talk soon. Thanks for hopping on. And talk to you next time. jratliff.com, RATLIFF. Day Trade Fund is his website. And I remember that website because usually in our golf tournament, we have so many holes sponsored by Day Trade Fund. So if you want to learn about day trading, he's the guy. Jay, I've taken part. I'd never finished. I was taking the classes for day trading about the time I got fired from iHeart, and I had to do a career. I got busy, and I should go back and revisit the classes. That I was doing with Jay. They're fantastic because he'll sometimes hold a stock. I mean, he's a true day trader. He'll hold a stock for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Literally, he's day trading. He's like, "What'd you trade today?" I don't know. He literally is bargain watching all day. It's fascinating how he does it and does quite well at it. And learn more about the market, daytradefund.com or jratliff.com. All right. Evidently, there's been quite a bit of chatter here about, did I see some of the Subaru drivers? You have Subaru drivers out the audience. They may come after you. The Subaru drivers. Well, they might. Barb says, "This is Barb. Not all Subaru drivers are Democrats." I didn't say all of them were. I just said there's a stereotype there. Not all Subaru drivers are lesbians, but I'm telling you, they get very excited at the end of year clearance on the Subaru lot. Just throwing that out there. You have Subaru, yes. They're all upset about the Subaru. I was. See, isn't it amazing how people got hung up on the Subaru? They got hung up on the Subaru. Not about the Subaru. It's about this lady from Florida, crazy Democrat, hates Charlie Kirk. He's underperformed, doesn't have merit. But if he would become the poster child for the anti-Second Amendment group, this lady would wrap her ever-loving flabby arms around him and give him a hug and a kiss. These people are disgusting. And you would think in Florida, you tamp down some of that craziness, but it just shows liberalism, as Ann Coulter said many years ago, is a mental disorder. And it's on illustration right in front of you. And we're seeing it play out right in front of us. All right. Got a message from our team in Rwanda this morning. I try not to read emails other than the show emails before the show. I've got my real life, real career, business, all that stuff. And I try not to read those, but sometimes they pop in and I see them on the screen as a preview on my computer. And I got a message from my field director in Rwanda, and I told him last week we sent some money for the food and for the salaries over there for a school. And I said, I got to send more money for school. We did not send you all the money you need for the food right now, but I'm sending you what we can. And he sent me a message that I was hoping I saw it pop in this morning before the show, and I did not like it popping in before the show, but that's not a big deal. Thanks, Jimmy. Let's see what he said. Oh, Jimmy, we are waiting for school feeding money. Try your best to send it before Monday, meaning get it to us ASAP. We got to feed the kids on Monday. So if you feel so led of the Lord to make a donation, I'll be dealing with this today and raising some money today and solving the problems today. But we feel, a lot of people say, don't you have a child sponsorship program? Yes, but we have kids in our school that aren't sponsored. And so therefore, when they're not sponsored, we still feed them and they come to our school and they're there. If you have 15 kids in a classroom and a teacher, you got 15 extra seats. We got to provide that. We will fill up the extra 15 seats. And it was just a meal thing. So if you want to help us out with that, we'd appreciate it. I'm not going to belabor the point. I've talked about it a lot in recent days, and I don't want you to become antagonized regarding this. But if you feel so led of the Lord, I would encourage you to make a donation. As you can see, that this is money that's going to go out this week, round up some more money and send another round. But January, February, March are the toughest of our fundraising, and that's because people overspent at Christmas or they already donated at Christmas, and so I'm just passing that on to you. So anyway, that's what I'll be dealing with. If nothing else, say a prayer that our fundraising effort goes well. I've got today and tomorrow to find solutions, which I do every month somehow. The Lord willing, we'll do it again this month. If you'd like to be a part of that, go to riverspromise.org, 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 and that will help us must cover our food and bill for what should have been February. It's going to carry a little bit into March, but we'd appreciate your help. Every month around the 20th and 23rd, we're sending money, and that's when we determine if we're short or not. So we send money other times, but that's the threshold. That's the deadline because you got to get stuff done. Pay dates and all that stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I want to remind you, Meme Roulette is coming up. Stolen memes. We go around the internet stealing memes. Saying that we got a lot of great answers on things that are fun or sound impressive until you actually do them. Here's something that sounded impressive as a kid, and now look back going not impressive at all. Anybody remember you used to get excellent attendance or perfect attendance? It's a big deal. Awards at the end of elementary school. Little Johnny gets perfect attendance. He missed only 3 days. That's perfect. No days. And excellent attendance. They did pretty good, but they had the flu and the diarrhea once or twice. They had to stay home. That happens too, right? So it was a big deal, and it sounds impressive, man. You'd go home and tell Mama, I got the perfect attendance certificate. I got excellent attendance, and now you look back going, overrated. That's something that sounded impressive until you actually did it, and then you realize you still, like Gavin Newsom, didn't do well on your SATs, and that perfect attendance didn't pay off, did it? No. Should have faked a few sick days there. You should have stayed at home on the couch watching Bob Barker like the rest of us in Price is Right. Those were the days. Yep. It's worth it. Something that sounds impressive that's not really that impressive. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Babylon B says, devastating. Black New Yorkers unable to shovel driveways as none of them have IDs. Yep, can't get extra money in New York. You don't have 5 forms of ID. Dumbasses. Mom Dami, the commie. At my funeral, I want a group of Italian guys to walk into my coffin in all black suits and say, I'm going to miss you, boss. So that my family so my family think I had something big going on. That's actually a great idea. Going to miss you, boss. Kiss a pinky ring or something. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. That face you make when Donald Trump taps J.D. Vance to run the Department of Fraud. Or when you've had too much Taco Bell late at night. That's the face you make. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Makes sense yet? Chuck Schumer there in the top left says blacks aren't capable of getting IDs. There's old... what's her Hochul, the New York governor. Blacks don't know what the internet is. Joe Biden said, you ain't black unless you vote for me. And then old Gavin at that appearance last week said, I can't read. I'm just like you black people. Anybody get it? These are the bunch of racist, bigoted people, but understand the heritage and the legacy of the Democrat Party. The KKK started with the Democrat Party. It was their militant arm to make sure that slaves didn't get all uppity. Once the Republicans and Abe Lincoln freed them, so they formed the KKK to intimidate activity. And they still say things like that are threatening and intimidating. Democrats, same party they've always been. Round and round, angry too. Angry like they were when Lincoln freed their slaves. Put a man in a girl's locker room and Democrats are okay. You put Cash Patel in a men's locker room and these people freak out. Yeah, these people are idiots is who these people are. Put a man in a girl's locker room and the twig and berries, that's okay. Dressing room at Target, it's okay. Your little girl can see his twig and berries because he identifies as a woman, says Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Jared Polis. But Cash Patel in a men's locker room drinking a beer, whoo, my good Lord in heaven, you would have thought, well, like a pork chop in a synagogue. It didn't go over well. Round and round the globe we go. Where I've got another one, like an instrument in a Church of Christ church. Religious humor. All right, another Elon Omar. Elon Omar has not been this mad since her brother forgot their wedding anniversary. I saw one. Elon Omar has not been this mad since her brother asked her for a divorce. Oh, there could be a whole chain of those. Remember the Marco Rubio? There's a thread. I think Elon Omar has set herself up for some very fantastic memes. I think that'd be fantastic. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Democrats refuse to stand as Trump introduces Jesus. You know, that headline is not surprising. That's almost not a meme. That's like reality. To be, oh my God, the reality. Round around the globe. Is that not the bee or is that just the bee? Round around the globe we go where we still. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have drawn this program to a conclusion, which means it's time for us to depart with one another. Don't forget homeswithsherry.com. If you want to communicate with us, if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, have an idea for the show, I would love advertisers, whatever region you're in, sponsors, underwriters, we always love to hear from you, and we can show you the numbers and thousands of earballs hear this show every day, see this show, and a great exposure to a great audience. Here we go. Just do it. Info at jimmylakey.com. Info at jimmylakey.com. And today, we ask you to make those considerations for a donation to Rivers Promise. RiversPromise.org. RiversPromise.org. Always love to hear from you. Tomorrow's Friday, but hey, you never know. Live like it's Friday today. Walk into a bar and say, pour me another tequila, Sheila. But don't say, take off that red satin dress. That would be inappropriate. It's an old country reference, though. I love country music. Pour me another tequila. Look it up. I have to explain everything to these kids. The hipster youth at the Lakey Entertainment Towers. Tomorrow, you know what we're going to do, Delilah? We're going to pay paycheck roulette. Paycheck or pink slip. We're going to bring it back. Remember I used to do that, Hayden? Long ago. Here's your envelope. Is it a paycheck or a pink slip? Tomorrow, tune in and find out. I am Jimmy Lakey. God bless you. God bless America. Until we meet again, peace. I'm out of here.